Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. This week's show, we're going to talk about basically hot takes from 2019, talk about a bunch of news, and then some stats that Emil has put together. We have nothing to preview this week and nothing to recap this week. And I think this is the first time that we've had this, I'm going to say problem, in 2019. It's literally the last show of 2019. And this is the first. So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host.
Emil. Yeah, it's a slow week, I guess. It's a nice kind of relaxing way to end 2019 going into 2020.
I didn't have to watch jiu-jitsu this weekend.
Yeah.
For the first time in the year. And then I did anyway. It's like I had 1 week off. Rachel's like, are you going to watch jiu-jitsu this weekend? And I was like, I mean, I'm going to, but I don't have to.
There's no way around it, man.
Well, it's like
it's inevitable.
I have like 3 events that I like wanted to rewatch up on my computer still, like on the background. So, but it was good. It was like I wasn't forced to watch anything. I just got to like take a mental break and just like chillax. And but there is some nice news this week.
Yeah. Speaking of breaks, holy fucking shit, man! Big piece of news. Gordon Ryan announces his retirement from professional grappling. He says that he's going to wrap up a few commitments in early 2020, but after that, he's just taking time off.
I will believe it when I see it.
What
do you think? What's your hot take here? What's your thought on that?
It's surprising to me. Like, we've heard a lot of, I guess, career plans from Gordon over the past couple years. Like, started off he wanted to do MMA, then he was going to do gi grappling, and then he was going to stick to no gi, and then he did a lot of trying to hype up a 2021 fight with Andre Galvao, super fight in ADCC. So, we heard a lot about his long-term plans.
Talking about like, oh yeah, everyone's going to come in second for the next 15 years. Yeah. And I was like, and it was right after ADCC 2019. I was like, he could do it. And now he goes on a vacation for the first time in a while, it sounds like.
5 years or something like that?
Which I think is reasonable. Like, yeah. I don't think he's taking probably a legit vacation, though. Like, he didn't have commitments. He just went somewhere. Right. And he went off-roading and was like, you know what? I'm going to retire soon.
I actually kind of respect that. Like, so from a like human being standpoint, like the dude is 24 and he hasn't known anything aside from
the
fucking grind,
right?
For however long he's been doing it. I remember I definitely remember the one time that I ran into GSP in the Blue Basement. Like, he and his brother were there training with him, and that was 5-6 years ago. So
Gordon and Nikki were there.
Yeah, like for
GSP's brother. I was like, does GSP have a brother?
No. Yeah. Like, or maybe he does, but like that's 5 to 6 years of them training with GSP level fucking grinding, right? Yeah. Like that's insane. Like that's nuts. And those are like really developmental years. So like, it's good. Whereas some people will go out into the world, they go to college, they do all this shit, they get their first jobs, they like travel and shit. Like, he hasn't been, the only traveling he's been doing is for professional events and not like getting to go and like actually chill out. So from a human development standpoint, yes, I think it's good for him.
From a fan?
No, hell no. I don't want him like off the fucking mats.
I read that. I was like, I really hope he's trolling. Because
I'm not actually trolling, because I think like we've seen, especially like from Gordon's interactions with people, like there's a lot of like growing that he needs to do. But like, come on, dude. Like, he's also fucking subbing people like motherfucker in Nogi. Like
6 at 8 at ADCC.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I could see going either way with him. I do not know if he has retire forever money. I mean, he's still going to have to.
People have talked about that. And, like, yeah, even if he's sitting on $1 million or $2 million, like, yeah, that's not retire at 24
That is
money.
Totally retire forever money meal.
No, it's not.
At my pay scale, it is.
Yeah, like, I have a feeling like if you're a 24-year-old with, maybe he sits down and he makes really good fucking business investments, and then he can just fucking chill out and not think about it. I happen to think that 24-year-olds are fucking still like, this is old man Emil shaking fucking fist at cloud.
That's reasonable. Maybe get off my don't lawn. Always make the best financial decisions.
But like, dude, like, let's talk about his legacy. Like, he's has 2 divisional ADCC wins. He has 1 absolute win. He
has a Nogi Worlds win. He has Nogi Worlds double win at black belt. He has Nogi Pans double win at black belt.
I mean, but
he has ADCC.
Who's gonna fucking remember those, right?
Right.
It's ADCC. Like,
he has a bunch of he's done a lot.
He's done a lot, but like, I know he wanted to retire as the greatest of all time, and while he's certainly the greatest Nogi grappler of the moment, like, he's nowhere near like greatest of all time like status. You know? Like, even Marcelo's runs are like way more impressive.
I would like to see him. I'd like to see him not retire. That'd be awesome.
I agree.
From a fan perspective.
Also, from a legacy standpoint, I don't think he's going to be able to. I think, he might take some time. Like, the way he's talking about it right now is permanent retirement. Like, the way I see it is like, give him fucking 18 months and he's going to be like,
bored out of his skull.
Yeah.
He's like, he misses messing dudes up.
Yeah.
So.
And like, let's say fucking ADCC rolls around again. Like, he's not gonna fucking throw his name into ADCC.
He's not gonna be like, I can beat all these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
that's how you get that good. You have that mentality of going in and
right. Like I could see him doing like
guy.
the Galvao thing, where like Galvao's like,
I show up for ADCC.
He's like, I'll do the things that like make it worthwhile. I wonder, is Gordon gonna start a gym? Like, he's got time to figure that shit out. Like. But right now, he gets to fucking chill out.
I like how Gordon got his own news segment of from one Instagram post.
Yeah, basically. I mean, well, there's a lot to fucking talk about. He's, without a doubt, the most electric grappler. Like,
oh yeah,
just from you've seen the numbers. Like,
yeah,
you have anything with Gordon Ryan in it, it's gonna get fucking views. People want to see Gordon fucking Ryan. Yep. Like, they want to hear him talk. They want to hear him. They want to see him compete. It's on and off. Like, that's a huge vacancy. Like, jiu-jitsu as a whole is gonna take a fucking huge hit. Like, this is actually a setback for the community.
A little bit.
Like, not a little bit. Like, that's a significant. That's losing our number one star. Our number one star.
Yeah.
Like, bar none right now.
Yeah.
There's no one, I think, that even comes close. Mm-hmm. Like, that's fucking huge.
I got scared about this show all of a sudden.
No, think about it. Like, it's only dawning on me now, like, how much of a hit the community is going to take. Like,
the professional community for like all the stuff that we watch.
Just viewership.
Yeah.
It's like, it would be like, it's like the UFC, like when McGregor fucking stepped away.
Yeah. Took a little bit of a downturn there.
Yeah. Fuck. Well, shit.
Well, hope he doesn't retire. On to other news. Where do you want to start? We got a bunch of news this week, aside from the Gordon Ryan show we just did there.
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about next?
Well, the other big one that I saw on Instagram are the Ruotolo brothers getting purple belt.
Finally.
Yeah.
I think they're juvenile purple belts, which is like, you're so good. There's like, I think they talked about on the Mapburn podcast a little bit, like, it's this weird division where it's only like prodigy kids.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, I'm actually that's kind of exciting. I'm super excited for 2 years from now when they can fight adults.
Yeah.
In like big tournaments, because that will be a crazy ride. I can't wait to see how much better
How old are they now?
I thought they were 17, but it looks like they were 16 from that. And either way, like, I think they're almost 17 now.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they got purple. That was everywhere. And I was like, oh, thank God they're not blue belts anymore.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, crap, we're now in the same divisions. Oh, no. Your boy going to be cutting some weight.
Yeah.
So that was big news. We don't used to talk about, like, lower belt promotions, but
Ruotolos
are it's something you got to kind of caveat there. Let's see what else. I did an interview with Keith Krikorian, coming up. I'm going to edit a bunch of his mat footage, basically him talking about preparation for a lot of different matches and how he addressed certain matches, how he addressed things in the matches, and it's something I'm looking to do to add to the YouTube page, so it's additional content coming out. I'm not sure when it'll be released. It's going to be a pretty long edit. We just did the interview this week. We probably talked for almost 2.5 hours.
Awesome.
So I'll probably cut that down significantly. Look for that to come out at some point in 2020. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Grappling Rewind YouTube page, that's where it will be. Please subscribe there. That we're trying to grow that channel on that side of the platform, as well as kind of the other platforms. If you see us on Facebook, please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. That and share the show with your friends. That's the biggest way that we grow the show. And I'm trying to do more and put out more content in 2020. So being subscribed and having this content shared out to other people really helps us out a lot.
Hell yeah.
So I'm
That's
super
gonna be
excited
awesome.
for it. Keith had some super interesting answers and like thought processes. And that dude, he's competed a bunch of people. Like we did an entire section on just guys he's rematched. And I'm like, oh, this is super interesting because he like took stuff away each time he'd fought a guy and like made adjustments and talked about the adjustments he made. And so I've talked to a lot of promoters, so I'm getting a bunch of footage in as well. I'm super excited for it. It is going to be a monster to edit. So I'm teasing something that will come out hopefully in the next like couple months.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot of footage to go through, but like,
oh yeah.
I'm super excited for it. I mean, Keith is like, just hearing his thought processes, even in the limited interviews that I've seen with him already, like we saw him at Shugyo get interviewed about his matches and stuff. Extremely thoughtful. Like that's going to be fucking awesome. I can't wait.
It was really, really cool to do. So look for that out on the Grappling Rewind YouTube page. Please subscribe there if you are not. We are looking to grow that channel so we can put cool stuff up there. In other news, you want to talk about Fight to Win?
Yeah, dude, banner fucking year for them.
Last year, Fight to Win paid out just over $1 million. Their goal is to pay out $1 million to fighters.
In 2018, they paid out.
Yeah. In 2018, in 2019, they paid out $1,245,089 in salaries and commissions.
So that's a 25% increase. That's awesome. Year-on-end growth.
They put out some awesome graphics as well. They had 1,426 matches in 18 states in 23 U.S. cities. They had a 46% submission rate. They had 654 submissions across 37 events. Fight to Win had a pretty banger year.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, just fucking huge events. Like, for example, like we've been following their salaries and commissions per event. Like
for years now.
It's been increasing. Like up from 20 now. It's probably averaging like high 20s, something like that, like low 30s.
Yeah.
They had their biggest payout event was I believe the Dallas card this year.
Paid out huge.
$50,000 for an event. That's fucking awesome. That's huge. Like we've talked about it before. Their overall level of talent has skyrocketed this past year. We saw not one but two ADCC rematches, like finals rematches, occurring as headliners for Fight to Win in the weeks following ADCC, and they booked those way before ADCC happened. So like Seth was already booking ADCC level talent before ADCC even happened, before we even knew what those how the finals were gonna shake out.
Yeah.
And those were already booked as Fight to Win headliners.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Fight to Win because they run more events than any other pro promotion. But always on the main, Fight to Win is cool because every single Fight to Win card, those dudes have 4 people usually they flew out. You have your main and co-main are usually like barn burner, world championship or world champion level grapplers, and then your co-main is usually the same, and then usually have interspersed through the main card and the black belts, usually have some other 2 or 3 other like at least 2 or 3 other world ranked grapplers, and it's like
that's huge.
And it's almost every single week. 37 events in 2019 out of 52 weeks.
Fight to Win has cemented themselves as basically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's league, professional league.
I would love to do something with 2020, and all of their points and stats and stuff for who is like on a title run, to like talk about them more as a league in 2020.
Yeah, what would be great is if Seth and them could identify like in each division maybe 2 to 3 people that are in running for title shots, because then you could keep track of it and be like, oh, these, it doesn't have to be ranked, because I think rankings are arbitrary. It's way too much work, especially for all the divisions that they have. It's already enough work when in MMA, for the UFC, but like at least having 2 to 3 people that are like,
hey, take a look at these guys. These guys are in the running, are in the running for the shot at this belt.
Right.
To
that's
contend
all.
for
That's
this title.
all you
Yeah.
need, and
I would
have
love
it
to do
listed
that.
out.
I would love to do that in 2020 because I think that those guys really run a league, and I'd be really interested to follow that league.
They are exactly. They're happening with enough frequency that you can follow that build up.
Yeah.
Where
it's like, oh, the guy gets the brown belt title. It's like, okay, who's he going to defend against? That actually means,
and start small. Start with the black belts. The adult black belts. Yeah. But
like, who are they going to defend against? Who have they competed against in Fight to Win under the rule set? Who have they rematched recently? Who do we want to see them face? Like, I think that is a big goal. That's a huge lofty goal for me in 2020. But is to do more with their black belt divisions for our previews.
Yeah.
And talk about this guy's going to fight this guy coming up, or he's in the running. This is actually most likely a number 1 contender matchup. I think it's really good for the sport that that Fight to Win runs like that. And I would love to cover it more, almost like a real journalist.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do here, but real enthusiast press for their divisions.
Right.
So, but that's super cool.
Yeah.
Those are huge payouts.
Absolutely.
What else we got? Anything else in news here?
Third Coast just announced huge matchups for their upcoming event.
For their March card. Dude, their March 14th card. That's one of probably Gordon Ryan's last matches if he actually stays retired.
Yeah.
He's announced versus Gaudio. We have Talita Alencar versus Danielle Kelly. We have Lucas Valente versus JT Torres.
Yeah.
4, I think. Oh, wait. Oh, okay, I got confused because
it's Third Coast 4.
It's Third Coast 4, but they're listing some of the matches as 2 and 3 and 4. So the Pedro Mourinho versus who's that?
Jimenez?
Yeah, versus Roberto Jimenez match is their 4th match, and then right below it also has the IV for the 4, the Roman numerals 4. Who else is on this card?
Yeah, those are
Gray Maynard's on this card.
Colossal names. Is that Krellinston on it?
Where?
Who is that? Oh, no.
It's not. We have Nicky Rod versus Pat Downey in a different rule set as well.
Colossal fucking...
Dude, that's going to be an awesome card. I might have to go back down to Houston again to do Third Coast 4.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
I'm already looking at flights, by the way. I'm looking at a bunch of flights right now. I'm like, okay, these certain promotions occur in places that are too expensive to fly to.
Yeah.
And so that will be awesome. But they've announced some super cool matchups.
It'll probably be a while before we cover a Grapple Fest or Polaris.
Dude, I do not have flying to the UK money or any Australian cards.
Yeah.
Those 2021.
Yeah.
Those are the goals for 2021.
Absolutely.
So that's all I got in news. You got anything else, Emil?
Local news. I guess bi-coastal news.
Wait, bi-coastal?
Yeah. So I've talked about it before. Josh has mentioned it on the podcast, but really awesome nonprofit gym called Guardian Gym is opening up in Baltimore. They actually are partnered with a gym in Oakland, California, also called Guardian. Both gyms were created basically to provide affordable or free jiu-jitsu for kids. So they're both 501c3 nonprofits.
Which is an actual nonprofit.
It's an actual nonprofit.
Yes.
It's not like some, bogus thing. So they're listed, and the one here in Baltimore is going to be opening up at the end of January. I just volunteered some time to help them out with Matt's setup. And the space looks fucking awesome. It's really good.
Where's that?
Remington neighborhood in Baltimore. Okay. So
is that West Side?
It's Central West, but basically it's right around the corner from one of Baltimore's more well-known restaurants, Clavel, and actually it's one of the guys who opened Clavel is now I think he might have just gotten promoted to black belt actually, but he's the guy who's opening the gym. So they're right next to each other, so you can go
the audio
train
listeners didn't hear. I
jiu-jitsu.
just nodded my head. Yes, that is correct.
You can go and train jiu-jitsu and then go and eat fucking incredible Mexican food immediately afterwards down the block.
Sweet.
Which is rad. So I'm sure people are going to be getting into it, but check them out, support them. They're going to be taking donations again to support free classes for kids in jiu-jitsu, in yoga, and MMA. So they're an awesome organization.
That's an awesome cause. You should definitely support them if you can in the Baltimore area, in the Oakland area.
Yeah.
Those are news, Emil?
Yep.
All right. All right, so moving into not the recap section of the show, moving into like the Hot Takes 2019
So
show.
recapping 2019, as it were, like kind of
like last week's show, except more.
Well, I mean,
more
last week's show was like covering more specific events and matches and stuff like that. This is like more like looking at the broader patterns that we're seeing in jiu-jitsu in 2019 going into 2020. And you brought this up and I actually agree with this. I would say one of the biggest observable changes that we've seen in the meta is people focusing more on stand-up and wrestling.
We both talked about this before the show ran.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know if we've seen it necessarily come to fruition in the meta, but
we've heard people talk about it.
In 2020,
Yeah.
wrestling became a thing in jiu-jitsu. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, we've done stand-up for years. Like, yeah, you have, but we did not see it come to the forefront in 2019 like we have in 2020. Like, we used to have matches between wrestlers and jiu-jitsu guys. Now, like, not infrequently. It gets talked about not infrequently. Flow Grappling keeps showing me wrestling events now on Flow Grappling. Like, they are pushing it super hard. We had the matchup between Yuri and Kyle Snyder that was pushed really hard at the middle of the year. Like, we are hearing a lot more guys talk about incorporating wrestling. I think even Danner has talked about incorporating wrestling
those guys have always focused on it. Yeah, like, in fact, when I saw, going back earlier to the news section, when I saw the Ryan brothers training with GSP, what they were training was leg lock entries from against the wall. They were actually doing cage work with GSP. And it was obviously more GSP training than that.
Right, at that age.
At that age, and also the rule sets, in jiu-jitsu, I think aside from SUG, there's no places that I can think of where you have a barrier like that, where you can
Third
push
Coast
someone.
has run a barrier before. There's some other promotions that we typically don't cover that also run cage events, but typically SUG's the only one that we cover on a regular basis.
Point is, I know the Blue Basement was focusing on that shit for a while just because of their MMA work. But yeah, they were doing leg lock entries from the wall, basically, which was really interesting. Yeah,
we've definitely seen a huge we have seen way more wrestling focus in 2019 than we did in 2018. 2018, it was we heard about it. It was like, guys, you're training your stand-up. Guys were judo, guys were wrestling, and you saw guys implement, I'm going to work more stand-up. Now it's specifically, I am going to work more wrestling. I think guys going for the two and having like the entries and having the ability to like put the match where they want to off the tie is becoming more of a thing. I think also with ADCC this year.
Yeah.
Like ADCC focuses so heavily on like top position and control wrestling and I think ADCC has become, I know it's become even more prestigious this year. I think more and more people are looking at like, I wonder what both the US trials look like this year.
It was interesting. I was talking to a black belt that competes a lot about ADCC, and going into ADCC, this is a little bit of a tangent, but they were talking about how they thought ADCC, with all the people dropping out, was going to be a weak year. So prestige wise, going into it, it didn't have a whole lot of...
Well, we had questions about that too, because I think previously, we talked to Mo about this after, and I think the previous ADCC had like 4 or 9 dropouts was the record, and I think this had 20.
Yeah. So there was a noticeable drop in talent going into it. And
well, no, let's think talent. Big names.
I consider that overall... People were questioning the talent going into ADCC.
We lost guys like Mikey and
tons of people, but that quickly changed, and so the prestige. I definitely think everyone saw it was an insanely electric event. It was super exciting. The prestige is bigger now, certainly, than it was before. So fortunately, they surprised everybody going into it, and so I definitely agree that I think that there was an aspect of this ADCC year that had, probably every 2 years people will start focusing more on wrestling.
I feel like in 2017 though, it wasn't nearly as prominent. Like, guys talk about it, but ADCC was still, I think even in 2017, it was still,
I agree,
a pretty like closed club where it's like, oh, these guys are going to ADCC, and they had trials, but
and aside from I can only think of a couple of examples in ADCC where people like basically gamed it to pull guard, but Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, aside from maybe 2 or 3 examples, people were like, they were throwing down, and I was impressed like at how much people wanted to wrestle in the no points section of the match. Like, I was shocked. I feel like every single match, people were going ham in those first minutes where no points were scored in stand-up. They were just like, they did not want to concede the takedown, even if there were no points associated with it. So yeah, I feel like I saw more of that this year, and I heard people talking about it in interviews more.
I think the first U.S. trials will tell us a lot about how popular ADCC became. I feel like that trials is going to be the biggest trials we've ever seen, and then the West Coast trials, which is historically, I think either that or the Brazilian trials, I think the West Coast trials is historically the biggest trials. I think it had like 300 or 500 grapplers in it this year.
Yeah.
That's a huge variation of number. But I feel like that with like guys like Nicky Rod and other like guys like Lachlan Giles and like guys that we've seen like explode from ADCC, I feel like more people are going to go, I can go to ADCC trials, I can win trials, and I think we're going to see a lot of wrestlers coming in like, oh, Nicky Rodriguez can go place at ADCC, I'm going to come in, and I feel like we're going to see a huge amount of people throwing their hat into the trials that had previously not considered doing that.
If we end up pulling in actual like Division 1 fucking champion level wrestlers and shit, I think that will be amazing for the sport. Yeah. I think it'll be amazing for both sports.
I want to see how they'll do, because we've seen guys with wrestling come in before, and we've seen certain sons have success. We've also seen certain people have really big problems with the sub game. But if we have a high level,
I feel like those guys are smart. Like they can adapt, man.
They can learn.
It's 100%. If the money's on the line, I think they can absolutely fucking learn.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be great for both sports. In the same way. And I'm not saying it'll be great for them to learn jiu-jitsu. I mean, I think grappling as a whole will benefit if there's more professional avenues for top level grapplers from all walks of life. I'm stoked that Fight to Win is doing judo. You
think Fight to Win does wrestling this year?
I don't know. I feel like they don't need to. Like they can further grow judo, for example. Yeah. There's other things. I feel like adding yet another format doesn't necessarily improve their product. And judo's been such hot fire like already. Like in the past, it's been out for what, like 9 months.
And you said February. I think you said that February they started it.
So about 10 months now.
Yeah.
Like there's only been, out of like the dozens upon dozens of matches, maybe like a couple like kind of quieter ones.
Yeah.
Like I'd say easily 80% of them are fucking just super entertaining.
I think that's a conservative number.
Yeah.
Yeah. That like usually they're crazy good matches. So again, if Fight to Win starts bringing in more wrestlers, like I wouldn't, if it worked as well as it worked for judo and the wrestling matches are also as exciting.
Right.
I'm down for it.
I'm down for it, and regardless, again, if wrestlers come in and they start throwing their hat in more, that's great. I think that's awesome in general. But also, it means that the jiu-jitsu community will. The beauty of jiu-jitsu is that we adapt. Like there's no rote method of winning. It's however you win the tournaments is how you fucking win.
Right.
And so you have to adapt, right? Like you have to learn 50-50. You have to learn leg locks. You have to learn lapel shit.
Yeah.
Like at some point,
ADCC, you got to learn how to wrestle.
You got to learn how to wrestle. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's great. I think that just makes the sport more complete, Yeah. So that's fucking awesome.
What other changes in meta you got, Emil? That's the only one I got. I got the one.
Well, I am seeing the advanced lapel stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, that actually really to come.
We're not starting to see whole games around it the way like Kaynan implements it for the most part, but I am seeing people grip, especially in like reverse de la Hiva and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they're getting Kaynan's fucking lapel grips 100%. That when you can see it,
worm guards and squid guards and like worm de la X and picking. I don't know the names yet. I'm learning the names.
They won't
still
stay within the system, but they'll incorporate
Lots of lasso guards.
Lots of it's like it makes sense. We saw the same impact from like 10th Planet for better, like however you want to view 10th Planet. Like there are aspects of that system that have just been incorporated.
Yeah.
A little bit more. Like we see people utilizing the lockdown,
I think
the truck.
The truck. Yeah, the truck and the lockdown are the ones we see. Like I think the most frequent have kind of come to the prominence in the meta. But yeah, I think the lapels. I have to deal with way more dudes that I train with messing with the lapels than previously.
Yeah, you've mentioned that at your gym that people have caught on to that a lot.
Dude.
At mine, I haven't seen people really...
My passing style is pretty much predicated on doing a front flip over you or like blasting you with a
just
knee
to
cut.
avoid...
No, but now you like grab my lapels, I'm like, it slows me down a little bit. It's super frustrating. And I'm just starting to get back into training after being injured for like 8 months. And so I've like watched all these guys get like kind of good at all these lapels and transitions versus before I can just throw this knee cut. And now I just can't because there's grips, there's stopping it, there's like lapels and people are changing over. Even Rachel is now like has all these like lapel grips she uses. I'm like, yo, when did you get like able to stop all of my bullshit?
Yeah.
And so I've seen a huge change, at least in my gym, of guys implementing lapels. And we've seen, with Kaynan talking about it in the instructionals, and we see it online. Like tons more people are now playing those like,
I'm seeing
complex
it
lapel guards.
at the highest level where again people will utilize the grips briefly. They won't do a whole system attack from the grips, but they will use them.
We see guys get tied up more.
Yeah.
And like it slows down the passing game. We're seeing more complex grip switches and more grip switches, and we're seeing like a larger reliance on complex lapel grips than we saw in 2018.
Yep.
And I think wrestling and those two things are like every year, every like 8 to 16 months or 8 to 18 months, we have like some sort of change. It's either like, oh, X guard's hot now, or it's Berimbolo, or it's like it's pick and choose your thing that's the hotness. And I think I think wrestling and like lapel stuff are rising on the hotness. Before it was like it was systems of guards and it was systems of leg locks, and I think that's where we're going now.
And like last year people were disparaging like the Berimbolo. The Berimbolo is alive and well, like
at the highest level.
At the highest fucking level. Like,
Levi Jones-Lee would like a word with you.
Oh yeah, I mean half those like
anyone under 150 would like a word with you, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like to bolo and take your back like a wizard.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. It's an efficient. Like fuck passing, like just fucking bolo the motherfucker.
Emil, 2019, fuck passing, just bolo that dude.
No, I understand like the. I
want to get that on a shirt.
The logic behind it, and the same logic behind footlocks. Like, yeah, but at the same time, it's just it's wonderful because we're not seeing any one thing dominate.
Yeah,
like
we're seeing I think with the prominence of instructionals in the past couple years, and like. I feel like instructionals are everywhere now.
Yeah.
Like everyone talks about, I got new instructional. Before it was like, a guy in your gym has an instructional. He's like, you're passing around like Ryan Hall's DVD, or you're passing around DVD. Now it's just like, oh yeah, I went and bought this instructional.
Right.
And it's like blue belts are going out and like buying instructionals like frequently.
It makes sense because you probably make more money off of it than seminars, and B, you don't have to fucking travel around and do pain in the ass shit.
But I'm saying, like, I think it's expanded the community now.
Oh, no, I know.
We are seeing more people at, like, the white belt and the blue belt and the purple belt level with, like,
because people are willing to share their knowledge in that format. Before, I feel like the model was... And I've heard, people talk about that, like, don't film my seminars, don't, like, blah, 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 don't share this shit. There was, like, stuff with, like... I remember like people talking about, in fact, maybe it was Kaplan or someone talking about one of the guys in the blue basement, Danaher Death Squad, being furious that like some of their leg lock knowledge was being like implemented elsewhere. And I feel like that was something from like a few years ago, whereas now it's like, no, we're going to put that shit on a DVD. We're going to make money, and we're thinking about the next thing already.
Right. Like, it's like, hey, here's what works, here's what we did.
Yeah.
Now we're already kind of in the next bit of the meta. We're not going to show you yet, but like...
Everyone was talking about, like, Danaher's leg lock system, and he was already thinking about, like, the back attack system.
Yeah.
And then, like, everyone started talking about the back attack system, and then he was like, Oh no, closed guard is like where I'm focusing. I feel like he will just continue to go down and think heavily about like various things. I think a lot of these really intelligent guys will do the same thing. Like we're no longer in the like, nothing against him, but like the Dean Lister era of like, I'm good at this one thing.
Right.
This is what you know me for. Now it's just like people just become complete. They really are.
Yeah, there's very few like not one trick pony grapplers. There's very few like guys that don't have a super dynamic depth of like, oh, he's dangerous and like he's dangerous pretty much everywhere.
Right.
Like, oh, his passing is especially dangerous.
Yeah.
But like he's pretty dangerous everywhere.
Right.
So that's all I got for like my kind of meta observations. Do you have any other meta observations for 2019?
Nah. I think we already speculated enough. But I do got some fucking numbers for you.
Oh, Emil with the data crunch?
Yes.
I wish I have a graphic for this for the YouTube video. Like Emil data just like comes with a bunch of numbers and stats. It's like that thing from The Hangover. I want to get that overlay and it like just like slides across the screen as Emil starts to talk about like data and statistics, and my eyes just gloss over them like I don't know how to do
this
math.
Is really basic, but I wanted a good way of illustrating kind of the turnover that we're seeing for IBJJF World Champions.
When you say turnover, what you're talking about, I think, is I've seen.
We don't have the like insane reigning champions as much anymore.
Right.
Like we have like Bruno Malfacine has been dethroned.
Yeah.
We have Cabrinha. We have the Mendez brothers all retired. We have just all of these perennial champions.
So what Emil did here. So why don't you explain what you did?
Yeah.
Because I'll explain it wrong because I'm not a math
So,
guy.
the best way to look at this is basically on Wikipedia, they have an awesome page that shows year by year all the champions across all the divisions. And next to each champion, they have the number of world championships that they've won total and at that point.
Yes.
And so
it's like it has guys like Lucas Lepre. 2018 was 5 of 6. 2019 was 6 of 6.
Right. So what's really awesome about this was, you have that information there so you can see who has been reigning for a long time.
Since the beginning of Jiu-Jitsu-dom.
Right, exactly. So what I did was for the past 10 years, I went each year and I added all from each division, all of the cumulative titles for each division, right? So like if you have Buchecha in 2019, he'd won when he won his division, he'd won 12 championships. I'm not counting the absolute divisions. So just by weight, right? So
well, you're counting Buchecha's there because Buchecha,
right.
Buchecha you count him.
So what I do is I go by each champion, and if Buchecha has 12 and Lucas Lepre has 6, together that is 18. Defended or won championships between the two of them in that year in 2019.
Yeah.
And I do that for all of the divisions.
Right.
Per year, right? So in 2019 there were cumulatively 30 championships won.
Yeah.
As of 2019. In 2018 there were 33. In 2017 there were 36. In 2016 there were 38. So we've seen now for the past 4 years.
So what this is an indication of?
It's an indication of basically these numbers are going down every year.
You have new talent rising to the top.
Exactly. So we're seeing fewer and fewer each year that's gone by for the past 4 years, fewer and fewer people dominating their division for like 5 to 10 years, right? We're seeing more and more fresh blood. Here's another way to look at it. In 2019, if you go by who has the most number of wins, you have Buchecha with number 1 at, if you count all of them, 13. You have Lucas Lepre at number 2 with 6 championships won. Then you have Mikey Musumeci in 3rd place with 3. That's remarkable, right? Because we kind of maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but I consider him a very new kind of champion. He's young.
He's a young champion.
He's young. He's fresh.
Yeah,
and he's already the 3rd highest out
returning
of returning champion.
He has the 3rd most returning championship titles in the men's adult black belt
Exactly.
division.
All of the other ones are, ones and twos, so there's a lot of fresh faces.
Yeah, guys that have only been a world champion for a year or two.
We don't have the Cabrinas, the Mendez brothers, like those kinds of people that are just, and Bruno Malfacines, who are just running it every single fucking year for the better part of a decade, which is pretty remarkable.
So it shows you that the sport's growing and that new blood's coming in. It was a really cool, you brought it to me. I was like, what does this mean? And then I got it wrong completely. And you're like, no, it means this. I was like, oh, that makes sense now with the stats I don't understand.
Right. And so if you go back 10 years, it's actually pretty remarkable. From 2010 to 2013, the average number of cumulative wins was actually about 21 or 22.
Yeah.
For those 4 years. Then in 2014, there was a colossal leap. And it goes from 22 cumulative wins to 37. It almost doubles. It goes about 1.5.
So a lot of returning champions.
A lot of returning champions. And then it stays high for a little bit, and then it started to decrease. So, 2014 was a huge change, and now we're starting to see another huge change. And if Buchecha leaves, for example, if he retires, then that number goes back down to the 20s again.
Yeah.
And, and basically we've been living in an era. We're coming out of an era, and you can see it mathematically, of just fucking outliers dominating their divisions.
Divisional dominance.
Like the years, 2013 basically to 2017 were just consistent. Like just people hogging the divisions in an amazing way. I'm not saying that as a disparaging way. It's impressive. It's a remarkable time that we've been living in jiu-jitsu, and it's great to kind of to go back and actually look at this and see this. And it's also exciting too, because it means we're starting to see people cement their legacies, right? We're seeing Mikey Musumeci, we're seeing Nicholas Marigali, we're seeing Kaynan Duarte.
That dude had a year.
Holy fucking shit.
You try to do some stats on him.
Well, I mean, there's no stats. Let's just talk about the accomplishments. Maine likes to poke fun at how much of a Kaynan fanboy I am. But it's impressive what he's done in 2019, right?
First full year as a black belt.
First fucking full year as a black belt. Kaynan basically almost Grand Slams, and a Grand Slam is when you win every IBJJF major.
Which are?
We have Euros, Pans, Brasileiros, and Worlds, right?
Everyone else puts people put American Nationals in there. I'm like, calm down. Not there yet. It's not there yet.
No, I mean, Pans are basically...
yeah.
So you have those four. Winning any one of those is impressive. Winning several of them is batshit insane. He won 3 out of the 4, and he basically got submitted by Marigali at
Brasileiros.
And then he also got upset by Lucas Lepre in Absolute at Brasileiros. So
at Brasileiros or Euros?
Sorry, at Euros. Yeah. But that's still fucking nuts, right? So that's 3 out of the 4 majors. He wins a Abu Dhabi Grand Slam. He wins.
He won World Pro, didn't he?
World Pro.
Yeah.
He wins Kasai 5.
Yeah.
Which is that's not just a super fight. That's the whole round robin.
He won Spider.
He won fucking Spider.
$100,000 a year for him.
He won Spider, which was fucking nuts.
Yeah, he won 4 or 5.
And he won ADCC.
Oh yeah, that too.
Oh yeah, that too.
He won a bunch of money this year. He had a really good year financially.
That's not just a lot of money. That is insane.
He probably got close to $200,000 in winnings this year.
Maybe, but forget that. I mean, just think about having a year like that. You win Worlds, you win ADCC, you win Euros, you win Pans, you win Spider. When the Spider tournament is fucking $100,000
money.
You win Abu Dhabi Grand Slam. That's insane.
The man had a very good year this year.
That's remarkable. I would say
I cannot wait for some of these dudes next year.
Anyone who had a more
Mergali had a really good year too.
Mergali is dope, but he hasn't been nearly.
He was way less active this year than last year.
Oh yeah, so Mergali basically takes Brasileiros. He takes the world championship, and he wins BJJ Stars. But yeah, that's all. That in and of itself is an impressive year. That I would call that a outstanding year for any competitor if you can do those things. And Kaynan just fucking goes off the rails with that shit. So I would say, actually looking back on it in 2019. Kaynan is,
is your grappler of the year?
Yeah, he's kind of the grappler of the year.
I wish I had the ability to refute you, but I did not prepare a grappler of the year.
To be fair, I didn't really prepare but I can't think of anyone who's done anything close
Gordon
to that.
double goated ADCC is really, really impressive, but it's not the level of gi and no-gi dominance that we saw from Duarte.
Yeah. And there aren't multiple.
And Gordon was injured for
high level tournament
half
years.
of this year anyway.
High level tournament wins, I should say.
Yeah.
I think Kaynan for sure.
Emil's 2019 grappler of the year.
That's right.
Kaynan Duarte. He wins.
Surprise.
He wins the grappling rewind. He
upset.
wins a fake trophy that we don't have here at the grappling rewind.
That's not even consensus at grappling rewind.
It's just Emil. It's just a little statue of Emil. Emil's 2019 grappler of the year.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just remarkable to go back and actually look at those accomplishments. That's fucking impressive.
So it was a great year.
Yeah, but looking into 2020, I'm excited to see. There's a lot of things I'm excited to see, but it really does feel like there's been a huge level of turnover at the IBJJF World Champions level.
Dude, I'm super excited to see all the promotions. I'm super curious this year in 2020 what new promotions we see come on the scene and just put on dope shows.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I necessarily need more promotions now.
No, I don't need. I'm sorry, not need, but I'm saying we saw Third Coast come about this year. We saw a couple other promotions come out this year.
Third Coast is an excellent example of how to make a mark as a new promotion.
Yeah, I mean, they've been around for 2019, and those dudes put on a bunch of really exciting matches, a bunch of really good shows, and it was a ton of fun to go to their events and to cover them.
Let's talk about their event in June real quick to give you an example. I was going back through the events of the year, looking at which ones overall, what format. I was trying to figure out which formats I enjoyed, whether or not I like tournaments over super fights, and I think Third Coast gave me a good example of a new promotion that had an excellent super fight format. So here's the card, the main events
for the June event.
For June Third Coast, we have Nicholas Mergali and Cyborg, which ended with Mergali loop choking Cyborg.
I think Cyborg was a late replacement for that one as well, so that was
We had Mateus Diniz and Craig Jones, which is a fucking ADCC finals.
That was the finals match. That was before the finals, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
We have Edwin Najmi and Johnny Grippo. And we had Wagner Hosha and Ethan Krellinston. And we had Dorino versus Marcelo Azevedo. That's fucking awesome.
That's a crazy lineup.
Yeah.
That's in your first year. That's in the first year of running events.
Yeah. Here are other people down on the fucking card. Manuel Hibamar, Jordan Holy, Marvin Castile, DJ Jackson, actually Mourinho and Jimenez. This was one of the earlier matches that they had. William Tackett is on this. That's just fucking outstanding. That's outstanding card put together. Marcio Andre, Lucas Valente, Mike Perez. That's just, this is how you put together a card.
Yeah. And
we're getting to a point now where, the overall quality of these events has gotten so fucking good in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't have numbers behind this, but I will confidently stand behind that since we've been doing the podcast, since I have at least, and I'm sure even more since you've been doing it, the quality of events has risen.
Oh yeah, hands
Like-
down. I mean,
like-
we don't see a card usually on a weekend or like at least once or twice a month that is headlined by a world champion, a former world champion, an ADCC contender, an ADCC champion. Like that is kind of what the new baseline is for a lot of these cards to headline a major card.
And the that's exactly right. We start looking at all of the promotions that are happening now. You know, we have Kasai, we have Polaris, we have Abu Dhabi, we have Fight to Win, we have
Third Coast as one of the newer ones.
Spider's
We're
colossal.
forgetting so many. Like,
Yeah.
why would we go down this path? We're forgetting so many promotions that put on like marquee and like really amazing events with
Grapple Fest.
Grapple Fest.
You know, these are all, you know, a quintet, of course.
Quintets.
Fuck. You know,
Yeah.
we're getting to the point now where each one of these promotions, even if they're only putting on events 3 to 4 times a year, it's starting to be almost every week.
We have
one of those major promotions has an event. That's almost every single week. And this is excluding Fight to Win, because obviously Fight to Win
is its own thing. Fight to Win gets its own segment almost every week.
Right.
Because like Fight to Win, it's like, okay, what match we covering for Fight to Win? It's like we're covering this.
Even excluding Fight to Win, that's insane. That density of quality events is nuts.
Yeah. I mean, there's pretty frequently weeks that we have to like, okay, we're only can cover like 2 matches from this card or 3 matches from this card. Why? Well, we have 4 events we have to cover. If we only cover 3 matches for each card, we're still covering in-depth 12 matches.
Right.
And
those matches that we will cover will be the ones where like, they're household names. Everyone has seen these guys.
Like, oh yeah, and you forgot the rest of the card was also great, but we don't want the show to be 4.5 hours long, so I can't talk about, you know, other guys that are like, oh, former world champion here on the undercard.
So I feel like if you are, you know, if you're making a mark, if you're attempting to make a mark as a new promotion in this now ever-growing field of really excellent promotions, you got to do it like a Third Coast, right? You have to go in there and be like, oh yeah, these are all marquee names.
Yeah.
You know, for your headliner, not even just a headliner. You need 4 to 5 huge names and then a bunch of other big ones down the card if you're going to stand in with these, you know, all of those promotions that we just listed.
Yeah. It's getting tough, man. That's why I have to keep a Fight Pass subscription, a Flow Grappling subscription.
Yep.
Because like there are promotions every week pretty much on one of those platforms that is a banger. That's stuff we want to cover and stuff we have to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I'm looking forward to 2020. I wonder who is going to pop up in 2020.
I want to see more spiders. Right. Here's what I want. I want to see more spiders. You know, I'm always down for more Kasais.
I want to see more of all of them.
I would
love to see.
But specifically, like if I had to say, all right, I want to see more of these spiders, quintets. You know,
quintets,
Kasais.
Quintet. Honestly, all the majors we listed, like those have all been. None of those promotions this year have put on a bad event where it was like, oh, that was not good. Like there's been pieces and parts of a lot of them that's like, it's not as great. This match was kind of, but like there's always been a couple of matches.
You and I differ on that a little bit.
But there's always been a couple of matches on all those cards that were like, oh, that was a really exciting match or a match I wanted to see. It might have been a boring match, but it was a matchup I wanted to see.
Important matches on all of them. Yes.
Yeah, I think important is a better way to put it.
Yeah.
There have been important matches on every single one of those cards that actually have some larger, broader implications for the professional competitive scene in jiu-jitsu.
Here's a very Emil specific wish for 2020.
I have no idea where you're going for this.
I don't want to see overtime at all, period, in any format whatsoever. No more overtime.
Emil's done with overtime?
I'm done with overtime. Now, that's what I mean by overtime is...
anytime you stop the match and start doing a different rule set.
A different rule set, precisely.
Yeah.
If you have extra time
ADCC
periods...
style. Where it's like the match continues and you keep going until there's, you know, a definitive score or something occurs, you're fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But if there's a completely different fucking rule set, just pay for a fucking ref, man.
Do a decision or give them points.
Yeah, come on. Like, Yeah,
It's
that's Emil's wish for 2020.
Yeah, we gotta do another rules show in 2020 at some point. Do a bonus show where we talk about rules again, because I think we've seen some changes in rules, and I think we have some significantly stronger opinions on what we think is fun to watch.
To be fair, I think the community is reacting to that. I've seen multiple promotions now limit their overtime, reduce the amount of overtime time.
Yeah, or rounds, or we're seeing. I think it fall out of favor on a lot of the events for the community, because I think people are a little less interested than they were last year in those overtimes, because we see more matches. I think this year we saw more matches where a dude gets crushed, or gets something doesn't great, and then gets a position at the end. It's kind of like it's kind of weird.
It's not the majority of those overtime matches, but it's enough where it stays in your mind.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, I don't know about that.
Well, we go from seeing who the better grappler is to seeing who can hold the back the best, kind of. And it's a weird little switch for a lot of people, I think.
And it's just, it doesn't. Those matches don't suddenly become memorable because there's a finish or whatever you want to call it,
Or a dude rides the back for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't. That adds absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little less of that in 2020.
Not less. I want it gone. I want it out.
There might be a place for it. I really can't think of one. But again, the more we do this, the more I'm into points in a weird way. Like, I'm not sure what happened. Is like, I think this year I've now seen enough jiu-jitsu and I understand enough of like the high level just when I'm watching it to go, okay, I'm fine with scoring. Like, the dude did the thing he's supposed to do. He got a position lead. And I think there's ways you can fix points, and there's ways you can fix stalling. There's ways you can modify a lot of the rules to make things more viewer friendly. But when I see a dude do a thing that the other guy doesn't want him to do, I think assigning points to that I'm more okay with that than I was in 2019.
I agree.
And I think that even if you don't, I think we have enough good refs nowadays where I'm less upset about a decision, because I haven't seen a whole lot of bad decisions in 2019. Usually when stuff goes to decision, it's like, it was a close match. I can see it either way. Or it's like, I don't necessarily disagree with that decision, but it was close. I've seen very few bad BJJ decisions in 2019, because I think most BJJ guys doing decisions are black belts or really experienced. Right. So they know what's going on. It's not a random fan in the crowd that you elect to figure out.
The other thing is, like, even if it comes down to like a really subjective, like, coin flip or whatever, like, I don't feel bad if the match has gotten to that point. If the fighters have allowed it to get that far, it's going to be a coin flip. You need to determine a winner.
Seth Daniels says it in the rules meeting for Fight to Win all the time. He goes, don't be mad about a decision. If you're mad about the decision, you should have done more in the match. And I don't necessarily agree with that all the time, because there are definitely bad decisions, but I very rarely see one where it's just like, where it's like, oh, that guy got like completely blown out and then lost the decision. It's like, that doesn't happen. The other guy did more.
We're seeing more professionalism out of reffing too.
I think so.
And I was observing this.
I think we've seen a lot better reffing. We've seen some bad refs here and there, but I think
a lot better reffing and better reffing systems too. Like,
yes,
obviously, love Abu Dhabi, love their instant replay. Also, watching the multiple refs there.
Yeah,
override and shit is like huge. That's colossal.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do that. I think I like the Abu Dhabi point system the best because I feel that it is the most consistent.
Yeah,
and I like that they have
6-minute matches.
They got the sweet 6-minute matches, and they got the replay and that and ADCC. I really enjoy the ADCC point system.
I love the ADCC.
I like that it has it combines no points. It combines points. It gives something. It feels like there's something for everyone, and everyone has a pathway to victory in ADCC.
Yep.
And yeah, I think those. Yeah, but they have longer matches too. But for some reason, it works with their system. But it also, you have the best guys in the world. It adds something to it too.
It's a little bit of
It's stacked in the favor a little bit for being exciting.
Right.
But yeah, it was a good issue. Do you got anything else you want to talk about for the year? I think we've kind of hit all the talking points that I wanted to talk about on like the Hot Takes 2019. I keep wanting to say 2020. Hot Takes 2019 episode.
Yeah, I think that's mainly it.
You got anything you're planning for the year? Anything that you want to do?
I do, like, another thing that I want to talk about. is looking forward to 2020 is the expansion of jiu-jitsu into new countries. We're starting to see new countries pop up now as like, producing contenders. Like obviously Australia with Craig Jones and Lachlan Giles.
And Livia Giles as well.
Yep. We're seeing Wales with Fionn Davies and Ash Williams.
Yep.
We're starting to see like these countries produce top level people now. So jiu-jitsu's proliferating. And
so it's not just the Brazilian show, then it's not just the American Brazilian show. Now it's like, hey, the UK is getting involved, Australia is getting involved.
Yep.
We're starting to see the proliferation of the jiu-jitsu. The Langackers.
Yeah. Japan.
Yep. We're starting to see a bunch of Japanese grapplers. We've seen Rokako Yuasa for years, but like we're starting to see
Korea. Shit.
Dude, Korea.
And Seongjang, like
yeah, dude.
We're starting to see
I forgot to do Korea. I feel like Korea is
I think Korea is going to pop off.
Blow up because in 2020.
Anytime they latch onto something, they just do it like fucking
dude,
so
there's
good.
a promotion that I've been following in Korea for like a year now. The Sub Royal. Dude, it's legit. It's like they run like tournaments, and they ran a submission only thing we talked about probably earlier in the year that's on YouTube that was really cool. It's like Sub Royal Invitational. They are putting together some really cool produced matches for their tournaments.
Dope.
And I've translated their Korean page a bunch of times and like looking at what they're doing. I feel like Korea is about to blow up on the jiu-jitsu scene.
Fuck yeah.
There's I think we're about to see some really good grapplers come out of Korea. So,
hell yeah.
Dude, I think, the proliferation of jiu-jitsu on the world stage is really cool. I didn't really think about it as much until you said it. And like, we're seeing
that's the point of the show is to kind of like stop and think and reflect. But yeah, that was a big thing. I remember talking to people about ADCC, talking to people that don't know grappling about what's so dope about ADCC.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I really liked is like, I feel like any moment now we're going to get a flood of like Gulf Arab dudes coming in because like, they've been training hard over there. They've been incorporating it into their like school gyms and stuff, like I feel like it's definitely becoming a global thing.
Yeah.
And that just means that's just better for the community.
Dude, what I texted our group chat for the Grappling Rewind last night. I was at the gym lifting because Rachel dragged me along to make my tiny ass a little bigger. And ESPN2 had Cornhole on TV. Or what's it called? What's the technical name for it?
I have no idea.
The beach you're throwing the thing. Yeah, what's it called?
I know it is Cornhole.
Okay, I think Cornhole's not, we're supposed to call it that anymore. Whatever. Cornhole was on ESPN2. I was like, how can Cornhole be on ESPN2 and we can't get Grappling on ESPN?
Yeah.
ESPN2.
I mean, yeah, that's a fucking, actually, that's a really fucking good question.
2020 is the year. I feel like something's
got to pop
It's going to get on the Ocho or something at least.
Yeah, I mean, because, that's a really good point. I think a couple things are starting to go in that direction. The overall popularity of the sport has just fucking exploded. Here's how popular jiu-jitsu has gotten.
This show's in like 70 something countries. That's how popular it's gotten.
That blows my mind. But shout out to North Korea, which is somehow popping up on our fucking
occasionally we get one from there. And that's
like,
it's someone on a VPN. I guarantee you it's someone on a VPN.
I remember Maine showed me that shit. I was like, what?
I showed that shit like a year and a half ago. Yeah. I was like, hey, we got another North Korea. And Emil's like, I don't think that's correct. I was like, Emil, don't kill my dreams here. Come on.
Well, so here's how popular jiu-jitsu has gotten. When I was helping out with the mat installation,
over at Guardian.
Yeah, over at Guardian. Carlos, the guy who's opening Guardian, was like, yeah, so I bought these, like, they're doing a raised mat where you have you have plywood supported by like foam blocks.
Yep.
And he was like,
it's a judo thing.
It's gotten so popular that when you go to buy the foam blocks from just like a foam supplier, they already know to ask you specifically mat space, and they will tell you how many blocks you need based on your grappling mat square footage. That's how fucking popular it's gotten. That's fucking bonkers.
That's pretty great.
That like that's become a business model for like, you know,
foam block
suppliers. Yeah, exactly. They lay it out for you. There's like everything, you know.
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking remarkable.
I like how that's your kickoff that it's a global sport, is that foam block suppliers now have a specific thing for a specific kind of customer.
It's proliferating within the United States, certainly. Yeah. Like, I've been in Baltimore for 6 years, and I would say...
You've really only been in Baltimore that much shorter than me?
Yeah.
When did you move here?
In 2013, so a little over 6 years.
Okay.
You know, in my time in Baltimore, the number of gyms is pretty much doubled, I think. Like,
probably, yeah.
You know, I'd say it's doubled, and now, like, you know, I'm finding out about people offering jiu-jitsu in gyms. You know, like, actually, Scott, one of our training partners, teaches at Merit.
Mm-hmm. Where I went last night to lift weights and watch cornhole.
There you go.
Yeah, he teaches there.
And then, there's like another gym where there's, you know, a black belt teaching jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. That's fucking crazy, you know? So it's proliferated within the United States. It's proliferating throughout the world. And I think those things, plus when you have now famous wrestlers being featured on events, that at some point ESPN is going to have to fucking, you know, like some major outlet is going to pick it up.
It's going to pick up a grappling event for something.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to have ESPN. I have ESPN Plus. Okay. ESPN Plus to watch grappling events. Now that I think about it,
it's like that. I know, like, there's no way that a sport like curling has a larger fucking...
Yo, I love curling. You stop talking shit. I watched the shit out of curling.
Has a larger footprint than fucking jiu-jitsu. What the fuck? What, like, now that I think about it, yeah.
Can I just anger you with this realization?
No, it's just mind-boggling. Like, how has... You know what it is probably there's no... I know what it is. There's no single promotion that's large enough for... That's entertaining, that's large enough, you know, for ESPN to pick up, but I feel like that will change soon.
I think that will change soon as well.
I definitely, the more I think about it, damn, that would be fucking bonkers, dude.
I'd buy another service that I already have.
Jiu-jitsu on cable, dude.
2020, here we go.
2020. That's my Emil's far off lofty prediction. Hope is in 2020. It's announced that there's going to be a minor cable deal with jiu-jitsu. That would be fucking awesome.
Jiu-jitsu as a whole, like one jiu-jitsu sponsorship, please.
Yeah, let's fucking do it.
I'm down.
Somebody do it. Some promoter fucking go out there and do it, because that would be fucking sick.
Sweet. You got anything else, Emil?
That's it.
All right. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined by my co-host,
Emil.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. We will see you on the mats in 2020. Peace. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.